Hey, what is going on, you guys? It is Mr. No Sleep here from Old School RuneScape, and welcome to a brand new loot video for you all today. So today I bring you loot from 100 green dragon killers, and originally this video was going to be loot from 100 bots, but soon after I started this I realized that there's a lot more than just bots around green dragons. So with that being said, today's video was all done on my level 80 combat account that I've had for a few years now, and the stats on it are 20 defense, 45 prayer, 90 range, 90 strength, and 60 attack. And starting at 230 KC overall, ending the video at 330 KC overall, everything was going to be tracked, all the kills in the top left of the screen. And the gear for this video was a set of Black Mystic, as well as using a Mystic Smoke Staff with a Tome of Fire and Fire Surge. I was only using a Glory though to minimize the risk, so no Occult Necklace. Alongside the magic, I also had a Dark Bow because in case they would be praying magic, you know, whether it would be a bot or a gold farmer or even another player, then a Dark Bow is always good to bring out as a special attack weapon, and not a lot of people ever expect it, so it's very powerful at such a low level. For my inventory, I just went with the runes that are required for Entangle, Teleblock, and Fire Surge. Rune Pouch would have been nice, but I didn't have enough points for it. Of course, we were always bringing a looting bag. It was very critical for this video. I would bring one every single inventory start to finish, and luckily there was no deaths during this video, so I never had to buy one back. Now, the purpose of this video was to showcase how much money you can make from killing green dragon bots rather than green dragons themselves. However, I quickly realized though that in my first hour, if I was in a world with 10 green dragon killers, about 40% of them would be basic scripted bots with like 3 items, usually a dragon sword, granite body, and granite legs, and then another 40% would just be gold farmers, and these guys or girls, instead of using a scripted bot, would manually kill the dragons themselves. And these people are known as gold farmers, whether they're from China or Venezuela or a different part of the world. This has been a thing in RuneScape for over a decade. And these players can be on one account killing green dragons, or probably up to 3 accounts at the same time, depending on how well they multitask, how good their internet is, and probably how dedicated they are to selling gold. One big difference though between a bot and a gold farmer in regards to green dragons is that a bot will almost always be using melee, and a gold farmer will almost always be using range. I'm not sure why this is, but in my experience through these 100 kills, you will certainly see a lot of D'hide sets throughout the whole video, ranging from every single color. So 40% of people here are bots, 40% are gold farmers, and finally we have the 20%. And the 20% is reserved for normal players. Now these players can be just doing Wilderness Slayer at green dragons, safe spotting them for money, or if they're a low-level Ironman account, this is a good way to get prayer XP. For this video, nobody was off limits. I even had occasions where gold farmers would be skulled, and instead of getting a kill where it would just be some dragon bones and D'hide, I would get some extra stuff as well. And I would imagine some skull because of territory disputes, you know, the green dragons do get crowded, even with all these worlds in the game, and there's not really that many PKers here, so I would imagine some of them just like to skull on each other for no reason. Now, as it goes for me tracking all the loot for this video, the looting bag was my primary source for doing that, and as soon as I got a kill, I would pick up every single item, including the anti-dragon shield. Sometimes though, if a player would drop more than I could carry, then I would have a good friend of mine standing by, and he would also be carrying a looting bag, and as soon as anything would appear, you know, that I couldn't pick up, then his job for the whole entire day would be to pick up everything that I couldn't fit, and usually he would be able to click faster than the bots that are around the area. And interestingly enough, there was some situations where I would kill someone at, you know, dragons, and they would run back and try to pick their stuff back up, because a lot of the time when someone gets PK'd here, especially if they're a gold farmer, the PKer, I would imagine, isn't going to be sitting there picking up all the stuff on the ground, because a lot of it's under, you know, 3k, really just dragon bones, and maybe a glory or a combat bracelet is worth picking up. So in other words, these guys are used to dying, and they're actually used to running back and picking up most of their stuff. You know, it's not a huge loss of time to them. But in this video, we literally picked up everything other than the bones, so I imagine that when these guys got back to where they died, they were not happy at what they saw. So getting back to the green dragons, I know I've done a loot video on these before, and you guys can actually find that in the description below. A lot of anti-PKing in that one. And since I have talked about them before, I won't go into the history of them, but I will say that there is 5 different locations just in the wilderness on RuneScape where you can find them. And the first one is west of the Dark Warriors Fortress in 12 Wild. Here you can find a lot of level 110 to 120 bots, and also level 90s. There's also a lot of gold farmers in this location. The second location is north of the Graveyard of Shadows between 24 and 26 Wild. And this location is prime time for lower level gold farmers and lower level bots, usually anywhere from levels 50 all the way up to 110. The third location is south of the Lava Maze in 35 to 37 Wilderness, which I did not visit once in this video since that is a hot spot for people who go to Revs and also people who PK in 44 Wild. I wouldn't really think it's worth it to use that area, but I could be wrong and there might be a lot of people killing green dragons over there. The fourth and the most nostalgic spot would be level 20 to 24 Wilderness south of Venenatis. This is the true OG dragon killing spot where you would see the infamous PKers hang out years ago. Elf Mage, Bloodhound 34, Makel Pro, Kids Range, all those guys were known to start their PKing adventures around this area, and that spot was used heavily during this video, and you can expect all levels to be there. I've seen level 65 safe spotting, level 45 safe spotting, even up to 126. And finally, the final spot being the Revenant Caves, where there is green dragons in multiple locations of them, and I do know that there are gold farmers that kill them there, especially with the Amulet of Avarice, but I myself did not do that spot at all during this video. I think I will save that for a future video, but we will see. I did use just about 3 out of 5 of all the locations where you can find green dragons, and I noticed out of all these spots, the most amount of PKers were around the Graveyard of Shadow Dragons. PKers didn't really worry me too much though, as I luckily did not die a single time throughout these 100 kills. I did have 3 close calls with some people who were really much more experienced than me, but luckily I just teleported away. And I would have loved to have used Ice Barrage for this video since this account does have Ancients unlocked and 99 magic, but Teleblock was a must-have because all these gold farmers and bots can teleport. Some bots are actually scripted so well that they will teleport at the first sight of you, even before you're able to right-click them. And if you're wondering how a bot makes money if they teleport out so quickly at the first sign of a PKer, it's mainly because there isn't much PKers here. As a matter of fact, I saw countless green dragon bots that had tens of millions of combat XP, and from what I've seen on Twitter through the years, and especially on Sir Pugger's bot-related videos, some of these green dragon bots have easily made over 500 mil to a bill just from the loot here, especially if they are 100 to 115 combat with 99 base melees, all just from dragons, whether they're using a dragon sword or an abyssal dagger or a whip. And with the price of bones being 2.5k and the price of green dragon hide being 1.5k, not to mention the crazy amount of nature runes that are also brought into the game by these dragons, and all the Renar herbs and sold heads, it's no surprise that people bot here and especially farm gold here. And an interesting thing about these bots is they can be made from scratch as a bot by some guy who owns a massive bot farm, or they can be your account. That's right, you can be hacked and the guy who hacks your account can just make your account into a green dragon bot, and maybe even flying more so under the radar because it just seems, you know, from the outside as a legitimate account rather than a scripted one. Green dragons are reliable, consistent profit per hour, especially if you don't have to deal with PKers like me. And one thing that probably demotivates people from killing these bots or, you know, becoming a PKer at this location is that the loot will almost always be below 100k, and the fight itself can sometimes be a struggle. A scripted tactic that these green dragon killers use is boxing the dragon. This makes your attempt to kill them miserable. This is where they remove their weapon and sit there and kill the dragon as slowly as they can and remain in combat so you cannot touch them, in hopes that you will eventually give up. And with so many dragons surrounding most of these areas, it is a great tactic to remain alive and not bothered for a very long time. But luckily, having the assistance of my friend helped me out a lot. He would bring darts and attack all the surrounding dragons to make sure that I could always remain on the person that I was attacking, and this worked pretty well. All in all, we completed these 100 kills on a 9-hour phone call session just about 3 days ago, and of those 9 hours, I think I was only online for maybe 7 to 8 of them. The main amazing how it only took one day to do all of this. And that being said, if you guys enjoy what you see, especially the low level account rather than using the max main or the Iron Man, then feel free to let me know in the comments section, because I will definitely start making more videos on this account. I did do a few skilling related videos a couple years ago on it, mainly relating to magic trees and cannonballs, but other than that, it's just been sitting here, so it would be cool to start playing on it more for you guys. And although I was prioritizing Fire Surge throughout this video, towards the end I was using the dragon throwing axes and also the dragon knives a little bit more, since this account is 90 range, and I should have done this more often because those dragon knives are really powerful, so shout out to them. I think the YouTuber 25 Buttholes got me into those dragon knives, so yeah, much love to him. And in this clip, you know, a nice thing about PKing at the graveyard of shadow dragons is that most of the time these guys don't have charged glories. They all like to teleport below 20 wild, so you know, the fact that you're already going to be sitting in 23 to 25 really gives you the upper hand. Of course, the downside is all the zombies that you can, you know, run to south, and of course all the dragons that can PJ around you, but there's always going to be obstacles that you have to get around. And a lot of the gold farmers, not so many of the bots, I would actually say probably none of the bots use cannons here, but a lot of the gold farmers do. You know, that's why it's probably another reason as to why they use range. It probably just goes well with using a cannon. And another cool thing about killing a gold farmer instead of a bot is that, you know, you're gonna get cannonballs from a gold farmer, but you wouldn't get them from a bot. Gold farmers also tend to skull sometimes for random reasons, and I don't know why, but you know, bots probably are never gonna skull on you unless you somehow skull trick them. But with there being an option that you can never attack players now in the wilderness, also you can set it to a right click only option, I don't think skull tricking bots is gonna be too popular, especially in 2020. But maybe there is a way out there. I sure wish I would know one. And another thing to keep in mind is that you do not need Fire Surge or a Dark Bow to kill bots. All you actually need is teleblock. If you can teleblock them and just bring entangle spells, then you are good to go. And I think the budget for that, as well as the gear that you would need for that, I mean, it can be all the way down to like 50k. You can really go welfare with this setup if you're trying to kill bots or, you know, Venezuelan gold farmers. Whoever it is that you want to kill at these green dragons, all you need is teleblock. So just something to keep in mind if you want to bring Moon Clan or Xerion, Ghostly Robes, whatever it is you want to bring. You really don't need top-notch gear like I was using. I was just using this gear because there was literally no PKers ever, and for the few PKers that there were, really didn't worry too much about dying from them. Matter of fact, I could have probably brought an Occult as well as Elder Chaos Druid setup, but I just didn't think it was, you know, that worthwhile. I try to make these videos relatable, so using a somewhat affordable setup, I think, you know, makes it a little bit easier to kind of see how it goes versus using something ridiculously overpowered that, you know, the average person wouldn't bring in the wilderness. And there would be some times where I would kill much higher levels than me. For example, there was a few occasions where I'd kill level 100s who would have, you know, hybrid setup with, you know, range and melee, try to anti-PK me a little bit. But luckily, using the entangle and just standing on your opponent tactic where you just hit them and then stand on top of them and, you know, continue to do that the whole fight. Because of this, I wasn't really struggling too much with anyone getting close to killing me. And there were no teams or anything like that, especially at my combat level. You can probably find that more so towards the Graveyard of Shadows, definitely less towards the Venenatis dragons. I did encounter quite a few Skull Trickers though, a lot of high-level Skull Trickers who used the multi-area south of Venenatis to encourage a PVMer to skull. It was really easy to spot that, so don't know what those guys are doing these days. I did also use PvP worlds a few times. There's always going to be people killing green dragons in PvP. Not too sure why bots or, you know, gold farmers do that. But yeah, PvP worlds is, you know, of course used, but, you know, the unfortunate thing about that is that tracks from a different KDR, so using that would just mean I would get kills that wouldn't be counted towards the video. And occasionally from a normal player or even an Iron Man, you would see some interesting styles here. For example, a guy there brought a green Halloween mask, and that trait right there on screen represents any time that I would bank my friend who would also be alongside me this whole entire video, and, you know, anything he would pick up, he would always trade me as soon as we got back to the bank every inventory, and I would put all the drops that he picked up into the bank tab accordingly. And overall, this was a very fun video to do, you know, helping out the game a little bit, killing these bots, killing these gold farmers, starting at 230 kills and ending at 330 kills, 0 deaths, overall time to complete just about 8 hours. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to see how much money we made from killing 100 green dragon killers in just about 8 hours. So let's go check out the bank tab. Also, Also, a big shout out to my good friend Wendy's for picking up all the extra loot for me. So the very first price check comes out to be just about 3.9 mil. We did manage to get over 800 dragon bones and close to 800 green dragon hides. The second price check is all the jewelry and food and potions, and that one just comes out to be 200k. Those burning amulets and gaming necklaces certainly do add up over time. And the third price check, this is just some remaining potions as well as some logs that I got from people who were killing Ents, which was right next to the dragons, and this one was just shy of 100k. The fourth price check, this is a decent amount. All the black D-high that we did get from the gold farmers, all the bolts, all this coming out to be 1.5 mil. And now we have the fifth price check, just some more stuff, all the cannonballs and some armor, comes out to be 800k there. And the final price check, God, I know it's a lot of price checks, does come out to be 600k, all the runes that we did get and a decent amount of armor. So we have 3.9 mil plus 200k plus 100k plus 1.5 mil, 800k and 622k. Yeah, a lot of different items from all these people. Everything coming out to be 7.1 mil in just about 8 hours of killing green dragon killers. Whether they were a bot, whether they were a gold farmer, or whether they were a normal player, no one was off limits, ladies and gentlemen. Almost 1 mil per hour just killing these green dragon killers. I would say the overall cost of supplies in runes and potions and food would be no more than 1 to 1.5 mil. So you're still looking at some pretty decent profit, all just by having some fun at killing some bots and gold farmers. And that was the point of this video, to see the possibility of profit and also see if we can get lucky on, you know, anyone who we randomly run into. So with all that being said, thank you guys very much for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. If you did, make sure to leave me a comment below letting me know. And until next time, I will see you guys in 2 days with a brand new upload. Mr. No Sleep out.